25, so to speak, for this week. Real Diamond Pop fans know. As Commanders coaches. So we're going to talk about the look. We're going to talk about Cliff Kingsbury working with Jaden Daniels, the offense, where our expectations are at, thoughts on what we've got surrounding it, and then we'll also talk about what we're expecting on the defense, and just kind of how we think this whole staff is going to come together in year one. So we got our first look at Cliff Kingsbury out there working. Pop, what did you see?
I thought that was exciting to see Cliff. He was clearly engaged, enthusiastic, very much encouraging Jaden, but it seemed like he was challenging him at the same time. Seeing Jaden do some of those drills with, I don't even know what you call them. They're not cones, but the longer
Yeah,
pads that they put down, and how smooth he is with his footwork, and then his accuracy after that and throwing the ball was exciting. It seemed like, I don't know. I get this vibe off Cliff that he just feels like he hit the lottery, and it just seems like such a great situation for him. And I'll tell you, I really get Kyle Shanahan like vibes from Cliff Kingsbury. I really feel like he's been sold short, is being, told that he's the air raid guy. I really feel like he's somebody that, is gonna, you hear things about him being such a smart offensive mind, and I think he's going to be adaptable and he's going to be creative in making Jaden successful. So I'm not keeping you up here, son, am I?
no, I'm not.
All right,
I'm
you
looking.
seem
I'm
locked
looking
in
into
on
others.
something there.
I'm trying to find more. I'm trying to more information. I'm on our outline.
Okay, you're doing
I'm
a bit
looking
of show
into. I'm
research
doing a
over
bit of
there.
research as we're
But
going
I
here.
mean, I think the other piece I'd say, is some of the rookie weapons, right? And Sinnott and Luke McCaffrey, those are two guys that could start, if not start, be playing a bunch of snaps this season. So I think part
Yeah,
of what we're seeing in rookie minicamp, it's tougher in rookie minicamp to see defensive players flash, right? It's almost impossible. But you kind of tend to focus a little bit more on the clips that we see, especially with Jaden Daniels. But it's
yeah,
also exciting to know that offensively, there are a couple of guys that one Luke McCaffrey could start in slot legitimately. And Senate, I think, is going to get tons of snaps, probably rotating in and out with Ertz. And if we go two tight ends, and somebody that could contribute out of the backfield as well. But in terms of Cliff Kingsbury, I feel like this is a really great get for this team. And I think
yeah.
I'm not buying into some of the concerns there. We always get excited in the off season. Just rewind to last off season and what we were saying about the OC and the coaches then, but it feels different. I'll say that. I'll say that again. It feels different.
Yeah, and I think a key. I mean, look, a key difference between the coaching and the situation last year, like what with Eric Bieniemy, right? Like, I'll say his name. I know that's a big thing in the world of beef nowadays. You gotta say the guy's name if you want to get him to respond, right? But I'll say it. Well, the issue with Eric Bieniemy was we all kind of wanted to glaze over the fact that he had not called plays in Kansas City. He was working under the mastermind. He was the apprentice to the the mastermind in Andy Reid, and the Chiefs chose to let him go.
Yeah.
Cliff Kingsbury is a different situation. Cliff Kingsbury was the coach, was the mastermind, was the guy when Kyler Murray won Rookie of the Year and the Cardinals won 12 games.
Not to mention he was with Caleb Williams, right?
He
Most
did it
recently.
himself. Yeah, he was with Caleb Williams at USC most recently. He's played quarterback himself at a higher level than the guys that we've had in the building previously, trying to shape some of these guys. So, and you can see it when he's going through footwork drills with Jaden Daniels. Cliff's footwork ain't half bad. Cliff's release ain't half
Yep.
bad. Hell, maybe JD Cliff looks like he's in pretty decent shape, right? JD rolls an ankle. Maybe we just put a helmet on coach, right? No, I'm playing. But Cliff speaks quarterback. He's the quarterback whisperer. He's worked with Mahomes, and he's proven he calls plays. He knows it. Was he perfect at it in Arizona? No, but Arizona was also an organizational nightmare, and you have the off the field concerns with Kyler Murray that were outside of Cliff. And guess what? this guy's not coming here to be the head coach. This guy's coming here to be the X's and O's merchant and to run the offense and to do what Cliff does best. And that's what we've heard in and out. We've heard he reminds me, I'm not gonna do the Kyle Shanahan thing. He reminds me of Ben Johnson a lot in that he's the nerdy, behind the scenes, X's and O's kind of guy. And he's kind of proven maybe he's not cut out to be the leader of men, right? But what he is doing is he's getting to the facility at 4 in the morning, nerding out over film. That's what he loves. What he loves is playing chess with that defense. That's his game. That's what he loves to do.
Yeah,
So this is putting him in a position to succeed where he only has to do what he's got to do because you know what? You need the rah rah. We got Dan Quinn over there, and we got some rah rah on the other side of the football in Joe Witt Jr. So I'm pretty done talking about the offense.
I
Pop, you
think
want to
Cliff.
talk about that?
Can I add a point on Cliff
Please
before we go
go
forward? And
ahead. I know
I appreciate you trying to move us along there, but
trying to keep the
I think
ship afloat.
Cliff's got to be looking at it. And I said it earlier that he hit the lottery, right? Because I mean,
Yeah,
how much better a situation could you get into with Adam Peters, with the new ownership with Josh Harris, Dan Quinn as your head coach? He can really just focus on what he's good at, which is coaching ball and quarterback and new
yeah,
quarterback. And I think he's got to feel great about it. And I think that also, I'm sure he'd like another opportunity at a head coaching job. What better position to be in to get that opportunity maybe 2-3 years down the road and learn from, by all accounts, a really good leader of men, an organizer from a team perspective like a Dan Quinn. So it's really a perfect situation for him. He's got to be juiced about it. We'll see, right? I mean, we'll see what he brings to the table as an offensive play caller. Like I said, I get much more of a vibe from him on like putting the players in the best position to succeed and not necessarily being locked in to one style of offense or another. And I
yeah.
think that that's what, he's going to work to take pressure off of Jaden and let him evolve naturally. And speaking of Ben Johnson, you think he has maybe a tinge of regret looking at this situation in Washington? Maybe. Who
Eh,
knows?
yeah, no, I don't think so, and I don't care. But Joe Witt Jr. is on the other side of the ball. Pop, what are you expecting from the defense here? I'm I'll go first because I got a few things to say. I'm reserved. I'm a little bit reserved in my expectations with the defense just because, yes, Joe Witt Jr. is, by all accounts, hopefully he's at a better stage in his career than Jack Del Rio was when Jack Del Rio came here, for sure, right? He's on the rise. He's up and coming. He's said everything right. I like where he's coming from. But Dan Quinn, as a head coach, his defenses have underperformed. So I'm a little like I'm excited about the defense, but if I'm being honest with you, I'm much more excited about the offense because of Jaden Daniels, and I don't think we have a player on this defense right now of that caliber and of that level of excitement. And there's just so many holes and so many new pieces. While I think they're all improvements, let's be honest. What's the hit rate on free agents? What's the hit rate on draft picks? Some of these guys are not going to work out.
Right.
Frankie Louvu might not be what we think he's going to be. Bobby Wagner might be past his prime. We don't know. Like, we're going to have to see this play out. So I'm taking more of a wait and see approach on the defensive side of the ball just because it was so catastrophic last year. And we did lose Kendall Fuller. We did lose Cam Curl. And we've added, but have we added better than what we already had there, which was pretty okay? I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see. So I'm more of a wait and see approach on the defense, not to pour water on this fire of excitement here. But that's where I'm at. Pop, where are you at on the defense?
Yeah, I'm excited about the defense. I mean, if there's one concern about offensively, is obviously that offensive line really scares me. It's a major
Yeah,
concern of mine. On the defense, I think I'm pretty happy in an offseason. I don't see any like big holes. There's obviously some guys that are going to have to step up and play well, but I think in terms of the acquisition that we've done across the board, both in the draft and through free agency, I think we've really filled in the gaps as good as could be expected
Yeah.
Whereas maybe offensively, you say that glaring hole at tackle still exists. Defensively, I don't feel that as much. I mean, linebacker went from borderline joke. The fact that you'd only play two of them and only maybe one of the two was, you could maybe you'd argue neither of the two were starting caliber players, to the additions that we've made at the linebacker position. You could argue that it might be our top one or two position groups, which is
Yeah.
exciting to me. So I expect this defense to make a big jump. Now that's not saying a whole lot, because if you go from 32nd to 20th, that's a big jump.
And you're still
But
a bad
I don't
defense.
think it's a
Yeah.
top 10 defense by any chance. I mean, Joe Witt looks great, but he is a first year coach. Must
Yep.
be said. And I expect him to do really good things, and I think DQ will be involved. But DQ, it's a scary thing in the sense that DQ's already said, I'm the head coach. I'm not the defensive coordinator. And I think it's the right thing to do for Joe Witt, is to give him that opportunity to take over and make it his defense. And I expect good things from that. But you're right. I mean, the smart approach is a little bit of a wait and see, but I think we're just going to see a different vibe. And, we talked about it last pod. Wagner led the league in tackles last year. So the
Yeah.
people thinking that he's on the downside, I don't agree with that. I get much more, and I think I stole this from you, much more London Fletcher type vibes. I think he's got a good couple of years left in the tank. And I think we'll see a 2, 3, maybe 4 year run out of Wagner here.
I hope so. I hope so. That would be great. I mean, he is only on a 1 year contract, so we're gonna have to make it work if he wants to stay around. But yeah, we'll see. I'm taking more of a wait and see approach on the defense just because like Emmanuel Forbes still a huge question mark.
Yep,
Quan Martin shown flashes, but I'm not ready to make this jump that Quan Martin is all of a sudden a really strong starting defensive back in the NFL. He's shown good moments last
that's
year
fair.
in a year where there were not a ton of good moments, but everybody seems to just be ready. And some of these people are way above my pay grade, so maybe they see more football than I do and they've seen more of him. But a lot of people are ready to just all of a sudden crown Quan Martin. That's a tongue twister, just crown him this like all pro corner. And I'm not ready to go there yet. I'm not. I got to see it. I got to see how this all works together because a big part of the problem last year, too, was it wasn't working together. Guys were the safeties and the corners weren't communicating. We were getting beat over the top because you weren't getting safety help where you were supposed to get safety help, or guys thought they had safety help and they didn't have safety help. So we're going to have to see systematically how this whole thing
I
comes
mean, you
together.
haven't really, I guess you're going to be concerned. You haven't really replaced Cam Curl or Chase or Montez, really. You really
Well,
haven't. You haven't, like, you don't have what you would classify as a top tier edge rusher on this team,
no,
right?
but you added guys. The guy from Dallas.
Solid.
Well, they'll
Fowler.
have the opportunity. Fowler. There you go. I think
Yeah.
Fowler is the top option there. And you'll have guys, and you added the guy from San Francisco as well.
Slag, Farrell. Yeah.
You've added sure. The names are escaping me right now,
Leland
but
Farrell. I've
you've
got the
added.
roster in front of me here. But trust
There
me,
you go.
the
There.
noggin, the memory ain't that good.
Yeah, me neither. But you've added these guys that will bolster up those positions of need. I think on the defensive line, I'm not as concerned about, but the secondary is really still a big point of concern because like Jeremy Chin, you added him as a safety, and that was kind of the big secondary help. But Jeremy Chin is a box safety. He's playing more like how London Fletcher's playing. He's not necessarily a coverage guy. So from a coverage standpoint, you're relying on Quan, Mikey Samerstill, Emmanuel Forbes, Benjamin St. Juice kind of getting back to form, Derek Forrest, and what's next? Percy Butler? I don't know.
No, you're right. There's
I'm
some
still
guys
worried
that
there.
didn't perform well last year that you're banking on stepping up. I thought, I think it was the Beltway for a podcast that I heard this, JP and Mitch. I
Yeah.
think so. But they talked about how even though you may not have replaced Montez or Chase, not that Chase looked that good in San Francisco, maybe the way the scheme comes together and the way they're coached up, that you're actually going to get better performance out of your DNs than you did last year as a whole. And
Yeah,
maybe the sum of the parts is greater than the individual players. So hopefully, um, I'm optimistic about the defense. I am.
yeah.
I think it's going to be as excited as we are about Jaden and the offense. I think you're going to see the offense suffer through more growing pains, and I think you're going to see more consistent level of play from the defense from the jump. And again, not that they're going to remind you of the Baltimore Ravens of a few years ago with Ray Lewis, right?
Well,
Not
last
that
year,
level.
frankly. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, they've got a ways to go, to get to that level. But do I think, it could be a defense that you can contend with if things fall in the right place? I think so. I think so because I think what we miss about evaluating based on last year's team, and Lou said this. Lou Holder, thanks again to Lou for being on last week, said it beautifully last week, is that how much did that team underperform last year? We went
yeah,
from being a 500 football team, bringing back pretty much the same roster, and going 4-13. So maybe there is more there to work with than we're giving them credit for.
yeah. I agree, and we'll see. I mean, I have been on this podcast saying it before. I'm a Benjamin St. Juice truther. I think he was played out of position last year, and I think he is a way better. You saw what happened when he had a real secondary coach, and then you saw what happened when he had a high school football coach coaching secondary that just liked to smoke cigars and drink whiskey with Jack Del Rio, so he got the job. Um, but that's that's pretty much it on the defense. We're running a little long here, Pop, but we are going to hit the last question on the outline here, which is Dan Quinn set up for success in year one? My answer is yes. I'm going to
Yeah, I
leave it
think
at that.
so.
I'm going to hand the mic over to Pop, let you wrap this thing up, give us your closing points.
Couple quick hits here. I know we're like you said, we're running long. We always run long anyway. People love that about us. A couple of Italians can't expect us to be on time,
We're gabbers, man. We're
right?
yappers.
But I think the thing that I think is exciting with Dan, and just we talked about all the leadership stuff and the vibe from that perspective, but think about Ron Rivera's year one. He didn't have the quarterback locked in. He was kind of forced
Yeah,
in to Dwayne Haskins. He had to take shot after shot after shot at the quarterback. And he even talked about the difference between that experience and being set up with Cam Newton in Carolina, right? The great thing about Dan Quinn is this fresh start, this reset with Adam Peters resetting the roster and getting that quarterback, potentially that franchise quarterback in year one of his tenure. Everyone started on that even playing field. They're all learning together. And I'm
yeah,
not saying, the question is he set up for success in year one? How do you define success in year one? You define success in year one as building that foundation of hope where we think that year two, year three, we can legitimately be, contending for a playoff spot or contending for the division. That's what I define as success, that you're genuinely excited about this team's future. And I think in that respect, he's absolutely set up for success by, the foundation that's there already and the coaching staff, quite frankly. The excitement around the Cliff Kingsbury and the rest of that staff, that's there. And Joe Witt, of course. Um, yeah, I think absolutely he's in a great position.
yeah, yeah.
It's
I'm
going to be up to him. He stubbed his toe on a couple of things. You mentioned the T-shirt, right? He kind of let the cat out of the bag on Jaden Daniels, and from what I've heard, sources weren't too excited about some of the quotes he put out there on Jaden. So yeah, he's sometimes she's shown a little bit of a tendency to jump the gun, but I
yeah.
love his enthusiasm personally. Those are rarely minor mistakes and forgivable mistakes, if you even call them mistakes.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm all in on his enthusiasm. I do think he's a little bit of a puppy dog. Like he just gets a little too riled up and then he makes a mess of himself. But it's so far pretty minor. Let's hope that does not carry over to game time decision making and things of that nature. But only one
Yeah,
way to find out. And I tell you what, I cannot wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm more excited about football right now than I've been in a long time.
we're
So
inside
I
of
am
four
ready
months till
to make it
football
happen.
season starting.
Yep.
Inside of 4 months. It's
Just
kind of
seeing the
rolling
guys.
downhill now.
Yep. Just seeing the guys on the field again, throwing the ball, taking snaps. It's exciting. Let's wrap this thing up, Pop. What do you say?
We need to.
Yeah, it's
It's
about
been
time.
fun.
So, without further ado, I've been Dom,
This is Pop.
and thanks for another great week, guys.